my friend, it's Pat Sloan here. Look what's on the wall. Look, look, look. That is the blocks. So I've done so far from the Tula Pink book, 100 blocks, which I am not doing 100. I'm not even going to do 70. I'm going to do a lot less. That is 7 across for the layout, the cityscape layout, which looks like this. And I'm doing, I put up there 2 less rows, columns, 2 less columns. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I just put 7 columns. And I don't know what that'll come out to, but this one is 66 across with this many, with 9. And I will do 2 less. So I can actually then maybe put a little border if I want or not, but I don't need such a big quilt to hang, because it's to hang. We'll see what it ends up. Maybe I'll end up doing more, but I also know that I'm doing at least 2 rows less, so it'll be shorter because I don't need it as long. This is like, when you make it this size, it is also 89 long. It's much too long for me. I don't need it that long. But I'll be varying the lengths just like this to get that city look. And I do know that I want to get some graffiti quilting. It'll be on the long arm, it'll be across the whole thing, but that graffiti quilting up in the sky will be super cool, which is, a lot of organic things. And my friend Karen has done that layout for me before on something, and it looks really, really good. We like it. So I am not sure if today I'll talk about some fabrics for the next blocks, but that is on the list. And I made a new list. I made myself a new list. I ripped the paper. I couldn't stand it. It was like I pulled it, and of course, it didn't come clean, and it was all jagged, so I had to chop it off. Ta-da! We quilters, we know how to do that. Just get rid of that jagged edge. So I made myself a new list of things I can cross off, because I find that very motivating, very, very motivating. A bunch of you left me wonderful, wonderful, wonderful comments on the sit and chat that I did with the, extra Friday video the other day. And on yesterday's morning chat, when the video premieres in the morning, which is 7:15, it starts at 7:15, but people are on at like 10 of 7 in the morning and just chatting, getting, just visiting, kind of like, going to McDonald's and sitting out in the in the section with the retirees. You just have a cup of coffee, chat with everybody. But anyways, we were talking in there about some topics, and one of them came up, and I thought that'd be another great sit and chat. I am kind of excited to do those, which are a little bit different format, and I hope you go and listen to that one or watch that one, however you want to do it. Here at YouTube also, they have something now which is called a podcast. Let me put a picture up. Basically, they have a tab, and it is the video. It's the same video. So the video now is in a playlist called Podcasts, and they then show this on different mediums where people might only be listening and not watching the video. There's no, even though there's a video attached. And many people are doing podcasts that are just things that you absolutely would just listen to, and then if you were watching it, you would just see the host chatting, like there's not really visuals. Most of you are aware that I did a podcast for 10 years, and a weekly podcast for 10 years. Which was a lot of fun, but it was very, very early in podcasts, and most people didn't know what quilters didn't know what they were. Quilters weren't with it yet. Y'all were still just watching TV. So you weren't watching anything else or listening to anything else. So it was wonderful. And as the 10 years went along, more and more people understood what a podcast was. So I'm gonna tag certain videos here under the podcast tab, which if you're listening and I'm have something you really want to see, we of course, it is also a video. But that is a kind of a newish, maybe it's been there like at least a year or more at YouTube. All right. Another thing that I'm going to talk about today is buttons, because in yesterday's morning chat we were talking about buttons, and I mentioned that I collected buttons for a while, and so I'm going to show you those, because I actually have not. I kind of looked in them recently. I had a random button somewhere, so I had pulled it out, but it is Whoops. Let me dump that. It's heavy. Don't want to dump it over. It's in here. But I also have, for us to talk about labels, I'd like to issue a little challenge. So let me do that first. Let's first talk about labels. One of the stalling points many of you have, and I personally also have this, is when you get to the finished quilt, it's just another thing to have to do to put the label on, and sometimes it just feels like a chore at the end when you're all done. And so I am going to challenge you for this weekend to make some easy labels that I'm going to show you. These are super, super easy. And then you just have a little container of them. And let me show you what I have first. This, and you've seen this container before if you've been here a while. This is a Milky Way container from 1997. Anybody else own this one? If you do, tell me in the comments. And you can go to the fireside chat at Facebook and share yours if you want. But I didn't buy this new with Milky Ways in it. I found out about it later and was able to pick up one, like on eBay or something. But I got it a long, long time ago now. In here is my label stuff. So let me just show you what I put in here. So if you want to take it the extra step and make yourself a little kit like this with label stuff, that would be amazing. Then you will be all ready, Freddy, when you want to do a label. So let's look at what I have in here. I have some labels, which I'm going to show you how I make these, which are super simple, and then I have actually a secondary super simple. I also have, I collected, because like I like to collect, I collected a bunch of these little, like kind of like they would be like clothing tab things, like you would have for your clothes. And I have a bunch of those. And they're kind of fun to do. You sort of tuck it in the edge of the quilt. And I think I have a bunch. So these are like handmade. They make it look a little bit more, I don't know, like for somebody who isn't used to quilts, I think it's just a bit more fun to find this very kind of personalized little label here, like Stitch with Love, things like that. It's just really, really fun to put those in. So I have those in here. I also have just a sheet a piece of fabric that if I need to test the marker, maybe I haven't used that marker for a while, want to test it, I leave a little test piece in there so I don't have to go and find one. I've got one of my, just a piece left over in there. I have two markers that I've been using. I like to use Sharpies. I know not everybody likes to use Sharpies. Some of you like the Pigma pens, which are also wonderful. I use Sharpies because they work for me. So that's what I have in there. Now I have purchased pre-printed over time. There's always somebody coming out with, so go this way? No, that way. So, pre-printed labels. These are pretty big ones here. These are large size. You've got a lot to write on that label. There's also, panels. They're panels, so they're fabric panels. And like here's a little Christmas one. I think I showed you the one that I said that, took forever to make. These I got somewhere along the way. So I have a bunch of those in here, and I really need to use them up because there are more and more and more. Okay, so these are all kind of the pre-made things I could work with. Then I had some embroidery stuff. This happens to be one of my designs that's in the Solaris, the Baby Lock Solaris. That's my pattern, my digitized pattern that they put in there. Same with this wreath. And so then I did a coffee mug from in there, which is not my design, but I don't know why this block is in here because this fabric is too open. It's something we did at an event, and so it's not really a fabric I can write on. So I really that should not be in here. And here, this one shouldn't be in there either. I should just take them out for a little quilts because that fabric isn't something I want to write on. Here's another fabric marker. I've got smushed down in there, and then there's the Pigma. So I've got all the markers in here. Here's another embroidery, machine embroidery. Okay, so here's some of these pre-made labels again on the bottom, and those are very, very old. These people, Cosmo Cricket, if you remember Cosmo Cricket, and then here's some I think somebody sent me. So I have a bunch of those. Okay, that's what's in here, so that when I go to make a label, I have got everything in here. I can choose to do a printed one, or one of those embroideries I can pick up. I think I put one of those on one of the critter quilts recently. All right, but I want to show you some super simple labels that you can do this weekend. Just a handful of these. They're not that special, but they will get the job done. You can write on them. You can, and just put them on your quilt. So first, let me do this clip. I need to make some more labels. I'm just going to make squares and cut them in half, and that'll be my triangle labels for the corners. I had a big piece of white in here, and there must have been something going on because it's just half of the length. So I cut two a little bit larger than 6 inches, so I can go and just press these strips, then square them up, cut 6-inch squares. Press them, trimmed so they're straight, and now I will figure out what size I trimmed it to because I actually didn't pay any attention. And I will make squares. Squares, and then I'll cut each square in half for a triangle. Lucky me, they're 6 inches. I did not measure, I just trimmed. And we're quilters. We get it right on the money. I'm not going to use the square because it does not reach. I want to go beyond and up. They don't reach. I mean, yes, you could scoot it, but why not just get a ruler that works? Get a longer ruler and cut them in half. I'm pressing under just 1/4 of an inch. So this is the label. It'll be in the corner of the quilt. I will trim off these little, what's called dog ears. I'll trim those off. And I will press all of these so I can put them in my tin of labels. I also put the clapper on top of them so that they will get nice and flat. I trimmed off those little pieces because they just get in the way and they're not necessary. I'm going to now put this in the corner of the quilt. So here is the quilt, the Orifil Designer of the Month from 2018, my version. And I will just put some wonder clips here. And then when I put the binding on, these two sides are sewn in, and then I just hand stitch along there. If you're not familiar with wonder clips, that's what these are. They're great for quilters. They have a flat back on one side and they're curved on the other. See, as you can tell, there's a curve here. See, there's a flat back, see, on the clear side, and then it's curved, so that when you have the flat back down, when you're doing your sewing, then it stays flat on the machine bed. And I just put 4 clips, and that's it. I'll be sewing the binding down and encasing that. Here's the back. Remember, I sew from back to front because I'm doing all machine binding. So when it comes over, it's like this, and I will top stitch it. But here's how it looks on the back with the label. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Looks good, right? Yeah, so easy, so that you can do this and not have to struggle. You can just go grab it. And that generates these. Now I would trim off all the little dog ears here, trim these little corners off. And that goes in the corner of the quilt. Whoops, like this. It'll go in the corner of the quilt. And I will put the binding so that the binding goes on as well. And that's done. Done, done, done. The other thing you can do, the one thing about this, and let me get a piece of fabric. Hold on. Okay. Let's say these little sandpipers are your fabric for your backing. That's your backing fabric. Now, if you're doing a single layer like this, what happens is you will be able to see the images through here. Maybe you can't see it on camera that well, but I think you might be able to. So, but I can see them. I can see the little images of these little sandpipers. So the other way that you can handle doing these labels so that you do not have any kind of shadowing, That's called shadowing, when you can see below, and it's a term used a lot in applique because you don't want to see what's the layers underneath. So another option for us is to just take a square like this, and then I have some pre-done here. So take your square and then fold it over like this and press it, and now you have double-sided. So that's double-sided, and when it's double-sided, you are not, I mean, this is just plain white, and you are just not going to see the shadowing with two layers of white together. So you're either pressing under a 1/4 inch like here, or you're just pressing the square in half. And depending on, whether maybe you have to do a bunch of labels and you don't, you're a little low on your fabric or something, then you maybe want to do the single layer, or you're doing a lot of light background, so you don't need to do double. But double is very, very nice, very effective. So that is the second. Those are the two super, super easy, and you can make a handful of these this weekend. You can get a tin or a bag. It could be a bag, like a zip bag or something, some sort of container bag, and put in some labels that you made. If you have some things like this, which are things you bought, gather those, find where you have them. If you have some embroidered things that you would want to use, get all your markers. Get your markers and get all of those, so they're also in the container, and that when you get ready to do this, you don't have to go look for them. And then if you have any of these fun ones like this, put them in there. Okay, that's it. That is your assignment. Yours, your challenge. That's your challenge. All right, let me just put this away a sec. We had so much fun chatting yesterday morning, and talking about buttons, it kind of made me remember that I had all these because and I haven't bought buttons in a while, but I did a lot more handwork and sort of small little projects, and it was just fun to kind of collect when I was on the road, traveling and things like that, collect kind of cute buttons, interesting buttons. And so I thought I would just show you. I've got them in this little, it's like one of these, Notions boxes for the garage for tools, like screws and nails and things like that is what they originally designed these for. And I have them kind of by color. So I have there's black and sort of metally. I'll put the camera. There's red. There's all black. There's blue and yellow, that, whoops, there you go. So if you look, there, I do have, this has got a lot of interesting things. There's some dice. One of them has a hanger, so you can wear it. See there? It's got the loop. Sort of big, interesting buttons like this. Here is a ceramic one with a dragonfly. This is, kind of engraved. You can see it's made like that on the back. There's a cool starfish. And this particular, there's a big coat button, what you do put on a coat, something interesting. I have in here little stripy red and white stripes. Yes. And so there's all different size buttons. And I would pick them up places, sometimes antiquing. I used to do a little bit of that. Here I pulled out a few more. This is why I was in there. One of you sent me these darling, darling little mushroom buttons. But look in here. I just still totally, totally adore this button. Look at that with the bird. What will I do with that? And look, they even stamped this card with the tree. Just so clever. This was at some event. Isn't that cool? It's a ceramic, and these glass ones, or they're not glass, they're plastic, but they are etched. These are the kind of things that gotta, I think that was for clothing, for coat, I bought it for coat, but I thought that is so cool, that basket weave. I just like to look at them. A little Scotty dog and the kind of pearl stuff. I've got a key, like a decorative key. And funky like that should go in the yellow mustard one. There are, this was like, there's a big one and a little one. So, you know, I would love to see what your buttons are. The traditional ones here are, I call them traditional. They're like clothing, right? This is the stuff that grandmas would pull off back in the day, would pull off the clothing. Maybe you still do that, pull the buttons off. And I did get some special ones like this that are like, I don't know, they're shell. They look like shell, you know, like mother of pearl. Oh, there's a black and white one. Cool, 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 cool. Look at that. Cool, cool, cool. But I have to show you sort of the piece de resistance. For me personally, it's a personal thing because I am not very sentimental, and so I made my wedding dress, but I didn't keep my wedding dress. Of quite a few years back, I decided, like, there is nobody who is going to wear my wedding dress. I made it. It wasn't particularly wonderful. It was very, very simple, and I'm not going to wear it again. So I took it apart and I kept the buttons. And so these were a string of buttons. I have them all in here. These were the string of buttons that were down the back of my wedding dress. So what am I going to do with those? I could string them on something and wear them, I guess. Wear them as a necklace. I don't know. See, like, what do you do with that stuff? What do you do with that stuff? And then here are like the boring color buttons, you know, like, why do I still have these? I probably should send these off to like a craft group or something. I got some beautiful green ones. Look at that. Okay, so that's a view. A view into my little button obsession. Now, before we end, I want to remind you that the Fat Quarter Shop is doing a Jolly Bar Day on Saturday. So these are their exclusive cuts. They do it for just a certain number of fabric lines each year that they take and create these specialty pieces. They all come with a free pattern, plus the Fat Quarter Shop has written several books. We're going to do a quilt along with their newest book where we do a sampler using different blocks. But I love this pattern that came with this one because I think it looks like a great charity quilt. And so that's what I'm going to do. I got the April's fabric for the backing, and then it comes with a stripe, so I got that for the binding. So that I'm not going to make it this Saturday. I might not even cut it, but what I am going to do is use it as after I finish the mini muffins, I am going to use this as my start and stop and work on it, you know, periodically, you know, work on it as I'm working on the other things. That's what this one will be. So I will link you up to the fabric line because it is called Star Spangled. It is a gorgeous Americana fabric. All right, my friend, I love you. Mwah. Thank you for being here in the Sloan Zone. I will see you online.